Today, we explore what happens when public institutions collide with private money and how the battle lines of modern America are drawn straight through the White House lawn and a civil rights courtroom.
I am so excited to get into this one.
Same here. Welcome to the Deep Dive, everyone. We have two explosive stories setting Washington on fire right now, and I want to hit the core facts right out of the gate so you know exactly what we are dealing with.
Yeah, let's jump right into it.
Okay, so story number one. A shocking new lawsuit attempts to block a massive UFC fighting event at the White House. Organizers plan to celebrate America's 250th anniversary right on the South Lawn.
Right, a huge event.
Exactly. And critics attack the event, labeling it illegal private profiteering. But defenders fire back, calling the lawsuit pure political tribalism and demanding the event move forward.
It is getting incredibly heated.
Oh, absolutely. And then story number two, the Southern Poverty Law Center, or SPLC, faces intense fire on Capitol Hill. A federal indictment claims the famous civil rights group secretly funneled approximately $4 million to the exact extremist hate groups they publicly fight.
Wow.
Yeah. The CEO faces angry lawmakers. Those lawmakers demand answers about where the money went, and a hearing explodes into a brutal fight over culture, race, and the definition of hate itself.
So our mission today is to really dig into the mechanics of these two massive clashes. We want to help you understand exactly what they reveal about money, access, and, the deep political divides fracturing the country today.
It's a lot to unpack.
It really is. But before we dive into the details, I need to make something crystal clear for everyone listening. The material we are analyzing today contains highly charged political claims coming from both the left and the right.
Right, very intense claims.
Exactly. And we remain completely impartial here. We're simply reporting the ideas, statistics, and allegations contained in the original documents and hearing transcripts. We do not take sides, and we do not endorse any specific viewpoints. Our job is just to break down the underlying logic of the arguments so you can understand what is actually driving these national debates.
So true. Because, if the UFC lawsuit shows how political allies face accusations of extracting financial profit from public spaces, the Capitol Hill hearing totally flips the coin.
Oh, for sure.
It asks a much darker question, really, like, can an organization extract political and financial profit from public fear? Both stories center on a very basic tension regarding who gets to benefit from our public institutions.
Yeah, that is the core theme right there.
So let's start on the South Lawn of the White House. We were talking about the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument, and a massive mixed martial arts event.
Quite the visual, right?
Honestly, yeah. But the plaintiffs are throwing a major legal roadblock in front of this celebration.
They are. They are arguing that the president is granting the UFC unfettered access to the White House grounds to stage a private, for-profit sports event.
Right.
And the core of their argument is that allowing a private company to use the quote-unquote people's house for promotional branding and broadcasting opportunities is fundamentally illegal.
Because they frame it as corruption.
Exactly. They frame this explicitly as a case of corruption. They claim that private companies allied with the president stand to make an enormous amount of money by essentially renting out the most famous public real estate in the world for their own corporate gain.
Okay, but wait, let me push back a little here.
Yeah.
Presidents host concerts, galas, and Easter egg rolls all the time.
Sure they do.
And the National Mall hosts corporate-sponsored festivals every summer. So where exactly do the plaintiffs draw the legal line between a normal public celebration and illegal corruption?
Well, it comes down to a very specific legal hook. The plaintiffs point out that unlike the annual Easter egg roll or, a typical Independence Day concert, this UFC event is wholly organized and paid for by a private organization.
Wait, the whole thing?
Yes. Dana White, the CEO of the UFC, publicly stated that his organization is footing the entire bill.
Oh, wow.
Because of that, the federal government remains functionally uninvolved in the actual organization, logistics, and funding of the event itself.
I see.
So the plaintiffs argue that this total lack of government involvement, combined with the massive private profit the broadcast will generate, crosses the line. They argue the administration is essentially handing over a public asset to a private ally.
But the pushback from the administration and its defenders is intense, right?
Yeah.
Critics blast this lawsuit as a frivolous delay tactic.
Yeah, they really do.
They argue it simply aims to derail a historic celebration of America's semi-quincentennial, our 250th birthday. They say the government regularly permits private organizations to use public spaces for large events, provided they secure the right permits and follow security protocols.
And the primary legal defense against this lawsuit relies on a fundamental concept in federal law called standing.
Standing.
Right. Defenders argue the plaintiffs do not even possess the legal right to bring this case to a judge in the first place.
Okay, let me jump in and try an analogy here for the listeners. Think about standing like this. If someone throws a massive, extremely loud party at the public park down your street, you might hate the noise.
Sure, it's annoying.
Right. But you cannot sue the party organizer unless you can prove the noise specifically damaged your house, or maybe a stray firework break your window.
Exactly. You have to prove unique personal harm.
Yes, you cannot just sue because you dislike the party or feel it represents a misuse of the local park.
And in legal terms, that requirement of personal harm exists for a very important reason. It stops every single taxpayer from suing the federal government every time they disagree with a policy or an event.
Oh man, the courts would be a mess.
Total chaos. Without the requirement of standing, the court system would instantly collapse under the weight of millions of citizens suing over things they simply do not like. In federal court, you must articulate a specific, concrete injury.
So the defenders argue these plaintiffs cannot articulate any unique harm to themselves.
Precisely.
They claim the plaintiffs just intensely dislike the current president and his corporate allies. The sources actually call the lawsuit a case of Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, they use those exact words.
They frame the entire legal challenge as driven purely by partisan tribalism rather than any actual broken laws. And they also point out that nobody has even been paid yet, making it impossible to claim that financial corruption has already occurred.
Which really highlights a profound level of national suspicion. I mean, every action, even a milestone national birthday celebration, immediately faces intense scrutiny for hidden motives, grifting, and financial gain.
It's everywhere.
It is. And that underlying theme of suspicion brings us directly to the second story playing out in Congress.
Right. We move from a debate about private profit on public grounds to an investigation into a civil rights group allegedly subsidizing the exact hate it exists to fight.
It's a huge pivot.
It is. And the statistics in this federal indictment against the Southern Poverty Law Center are staggering.
They really are.
Listen to this. Between 2014 and 2023, a federal grand jury indictment alleges the SPLC funneled approximately $4 million to sources tied to extremist organizations.
$4 million.
Yeah. These payments allegedly range from hundreds of thousands to over $1 million. And the money supposedly went to groups connected to the Ku Klux Klan and neo-Nazis.
And you know, the allegations go far beyond just moving money around. The indictment heavily scrutinizes the SPLC's confidential informant program.
Yeah, the informant program.
It specifically details an informant who allegedly participated in an online leadership chat used to plan the violent 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Okay, I have to pause you there because the mechanics of this make zero sense on the surface.
I know, it sounds crazy.
Okay, let's unpack this. Why would a civil rights group fund the exact extremists they want to stop? What is the actual return on investment here?
Well, it operates in the very murky world of private intelligence gathering.
Okay.
Nonprofit watchdog groups often hire private investigators or use internal researchers to infiltrate extremist forums and secure documents.
So they are paying for access.
Right. And as for why extremists take the money, the answer is usually quite simple. Grift exists in every extreme political movement.
That makes sense.
Yeah. If an organization offers cash for access to private chat rooms, membership lists, or leadership plans, someone on the inside is often willing to quietly take the check, regardless of where it comes from.
Okay, so the lawmakers are accusing the SPLC of taking this intelligence gathering way too far. Republican lawmakers, led by House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, confronted the SPLC's interim CEO, Brian Fair.
Yes, they did.
And their theory, based on the federal indictment, is that the SPLC utilized this informant program to artificially generate hate.
Think of it like a cybersecurity firm secretly writing computer viruses.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right. If you are in the business of selling antivirus software, total peace and security are terrible for your bottom line. You need the threat to remain highly visible so people keep buying your product.
Wow.
Lawmakers accuse the SPLC of treating civil rights the exact same way. The accusation is that by subsidizing these extremist sources to the tune of $4 million, they ensure the quote-unquote virus of extremism remains highly active.
Which justifies their massive fundraising campaigns.
Exactly. It allows them to profit off the very hate they claim to fight.
So how did the CEO respond to that specific accusation? Because that is a heavy charge.
He completely refused to discuss the specifics of the ongoing federal indictment.
Really? Just refused?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He stated that many groups misrepresent their work and their confidential informant program. He called the allegations that the SPLC has, quote, lost its way, completely false.
But he wouldn't touch the numbers.
No. His refusal to engage with the specific $4 million figure or the Charlottesville chat allegations deeply frustrated the lawmakers.
I bet. And, you know, this friction over how the SPLC operates naturally bled into another massive controversy during the hearing, the famous hate map.
Oh, right, the hate map.
Yeah, this map tracks around 1,500 different organizations across the country. But when you look at who actually ends up on this map, you see conservative and pro-life groups like Turning Point USA, Moms for Liberty, and even certain local churches.
Which is incredibly controversial.
Totally. The SPLC labels these groups as anti-government or extremist.
And during the hearing, lawmakers aggressively pressed the CEO on the methodology behind this map. They pointed out that while conservative and Christian organizations feature heavily, the map seems practically void of Islamic extremist groups or left-wing anti-Jewish groups.
So they're claiming a double standard.
Exactly. But the CEO defended the map, stating they target no group because of its religion. He argued they only list groups that express statements or engage in activities that demean and vilify others.
But lawmakers argued that by lumping a local church or a parents' rights group in with actual neo-Nazis, the SPLC completely waters down the definition of hate.
Right. They argued it transforms a vital civil rights tool into a partisan political weapon.
Designed to silence mainstream political opponents.
Exactly. And this is the moment the hearing fundamentally shifted. It evolved rapidly from a financial investigation regarding a $4 million grand jury indictment into a glaring display of America's cultural tribalism.
You see this most clearly in the intense exchange between lawmaker Brandon Gill and the SPLC CEO over the topic of abortion.
That exchange was wild.
It really was. Gill pressed fair on a very specific public claim made by the SPLC. The organization had previously stated that restricting or banning abortion operates as a tool that the far right uses to maintain white supremacy.
Right.
So Gill wanted the CEO to answer, on the record, if he believed pro-life advocates are white supremacists.
And Gill brought heavy statistics to make his point.
Yeah, let's look at those numbers.
He broke down the numbers like this. Black Americans make up roughly 13% of the United States population. However, they account for about 40 to 42% of abortions nationwide.
Wow. Okay.
So Gill looked at the CEO and asked a deeply challenging question based on those demographics. He asked, how could a white supremacist logically oppose a medical procedure that so heavily reduces the black population?
They were just operating on two entirely different philosophical frameworks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Gill used utilitarian demographic outcomes to challenge the SPLC's logic.
Right.
He argued that if a policy disproportionately reduces a minority population, a white supremacist would logically support it, not ban it.
But fair, the CEO refused to give a simple yes or no answer about whether pro-lifers are white supremacists.
He completely rejected Gill's demographic framing.
Exactly. Fair pivoted away from the statistical outcomes and relied entirely on a deontological approach based on absolute individual rights.
Meaning
He argued the SPLC's stance rests on the belief that reproductive liberty is a fundamental right that every woman should enjoy. He tied the restriction of bodily autonomy to historical oppression.
Ah, I see.
He argued that controlling women's bodies is inherently linked to systemic white supremacy, regardless of the modern demographic statistics Gill presented.
It perfectly illustrates why these two sides cannot even have a conversation. I mean, one side defines harm through population statistics and demographic outcomes.
Yeah.
And the other side defines harm through systemic threats to individual bodily autonomy.
What?
They look at the exact same issue, but because their foundational frameworks are so vastly different, they come away with entirely opposite conclusions about what is actually harmful to society.
And that intense cultural clash only escalated when the hearing shifted to testimony from Dr. Alveda King.
Oh, right. She is the niece of the late civil rights leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes. She testified that she felt her own work had been unfairly targeted and misrepresented by the SPLC.
And her testimony offered a really sharp contrast to the modern activist framework. She rooted her argument in a very traditional view of national unity.
She certainly did.
She argued that America is not a collection of competing tribes fighting for dominance, but rather, quote, one people under God. She strongly criticized organizations that claim to fight hatred, but actually end up profiteering from division.
Which ties right back into the core accusation of the hearing.
Exactly. She pointed to her own family's mixed heritage to argue that recognizing our common humanity, rather than hyper-specializing into grievance groups, is what actually makes the country strong.
But that traditional message of unity faced immediate and fierce pushback from Democratic Representative Jasmine Crockett.
She did not hold back.
Not at all. Crockett rejected Dr. King's narrative entirely. She accused Republicans of intentionally parading someone with the famous Dr. King name just to confuse voters.
Just to